Will we ever find out what's going on inside the secret impeachment bunker? And what about that whistleblower? Who is it? Do we deserve to know? With me tonight, it's Arkansas Republican Congressman and House Intelligence Committee member Rick Crawford is here. Welcome back, Congressman.
Hey, good to be back.
Who's the whistleblower?
I do not know.
Who do you think it is?
It's out there. I'm not going to comment on who it is. You know, we're obviously really careful. We don't want to disclose the
No, we don't
identity.
disclose. I'm just having
Right.
fun with you. We got to do
Sure.
something fun because this is all deadly serious. Impeachment
Exactly.
is very, very serious business, and I don't think Democrats have gotten a handle on that. If they have, then we would have had some sort of formal impeachment inquiry resolution passed and ready to go a month ago. But instead, what is happening in secret?
Well, the key word there is secret. Everything's happening behind closed doors.
But you've
down
seen
in the
it, right?
skiff. Yeah, I've been down there for some of those proceedings, and I can tell you that it is not consistent with any level of due process that should be afforded to anyone. So, you know, we talk about the president is not above the law, and I agree with that, but he's certainly not below the law.
Right.
And that same thing should apply to Speaker Pelosi. She's not above the law either. She's not all powerful. So for them to conduct themselves this way in secret like this means that they don't really have a case. What they're trying to do is to conjure up a case, just like they did with the Russian dossier, and we could go on and on about how that materialized and how that was utilized as a reason to go after the president and as a reason to investigate.
But you also don't want to go in there as an objective lawmaker and assume that nothing has gone on, therefore you don't really have to pay attention. You always have to assume that there's going to be a pop quiz the next day. You know what I'm saying?
Well, sure, I understand that completely, but we also understand that...
What if it's not nothing?
Well, it's not nothing because we've seen the transcript of the phone call. What we're seeing is witnesses coming in at the behest of Adam Schiff and really kind of helping him to connect the dots. But it's very subjective and selectively leaked. And then when Republicans try to weigh in, Republicans try to question a witness, they're abruptly shut off. You can't ask that question. So what we have is Adam Schiff has assumed the position of not only prosecutor, but also judge and jury. He's acting
that
in
seems wrong. So he's saying that he cuts off Republicans when they're trying to reveal the identity of the whistleblower. But any question that a Republican posed to one of these witnesses could be seen as trying to reveal the whistleblower's identity, and that seems a little unfair. Now, if in fact this impeachment inquiry resolution passes tomorrow, will there be a change of venue out of your Intelligence Committee somewhere else where Republicans will be able to subpoena witnesses, and this will happen in public,
Possibly.
away from Adam Schiff?
That's possible, but Adam Schiff still retains the authority to keep that closed. So what they're doing is another, procedural vote to say we're open to opening these up, but only at the discretion of the chairman. Now, the other thing is that two committees are being peeled off.
It doesn't make sense unless Nancy Pelosi knows this whole thing is going to fail, and she despises Adam Schiff and she wants to hang him out to dry.
No, she doesn't despise Adam Schiff. I think she probably gave this assignment to him because he may be the most willing to continually lie, like he's done for the last 3 years. And who knows how much, long before that he was lying. But in the context of the time that Donald Trump has been president, the way you know that Adam Schiff is lying is his mouth's moving. So he's telling some fabricated, story to try and make a case against President Trump. He's been doing it since election night in 2016.
So obviously Republicans have lost faith in the process. What are the adults in the room going to do to bring it to a little bit more of an objective proceeding? Because it seems like that's what we're missing. Even with Matt Gaetz, bringing up charges against Adam Schiff, that's never going to pass. He knows it, and it's just this meaningless volley that gets no one nowhere.
It's back and forth, and that's just kind of the breakdown. That's the division right now. If you brought this out into the open and allowed for Republicans to subpoena witnesses and allow those witnesses to come, I don't want to get into all that.
You can give me a couple names. That's what we're here for.
Well, there are a number of folks that I think the whistleblower, for one, and quite frankly, I think Adam Schiff he's a fact witness now. He's been involved in this, so he's a fact witness. Both of those need to come in and testify in an open hearing, and the American people need to hear their account of just how this all was brought about.
All right, well, John Bolton going to show up anytime soon? Who's John Bolton more mad at, the Trump administration or congressional Democrats?
That is a good question. I don't know if he'll be there or not, but I certainly
I think he wants to stick it to everyone. I'll go ahead and answer that.
Probably does.
Yeah, I think so too. Which will be entertaining. I hope that's not one they bury in the skiff, but I can't imagine that Ambassador Bolton will allow that.
Let's hope not. I hope this is out in the open as quick as possible.
If you and Adam Schiff were the only surviving passengers on a plane crash, which one of you would live longer in the wild?
Oh, that'd be me.
That's right. That's the right answer. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wish you all a long survival in the wild. However, you know, if I'm a betting woman, my money's on you, Congressman.
Well, I appreciate it.
It's a high compliment. Thank you so much for being here.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.